Desde las sombras de Palacio Nacional to the muddy trenches of politics. This is the Pigsty, the pig pen of politics with Luis Berman.
Greetings, tenants of this informative pigsty. Welcome to your favorite corner, the pig pen, where we dig up the dirt, uncover the sewers of power, and along the way, laugh at the National Tragicomedy. This is yet another broadcast of pure filth, where the truth stinks more than politicians on the campaign trail. Here, your untrustworthy pig communicator, Luis Berman, ready to write and throw it in the trash. 'Cause in this pigsty, politics isn't analyzed, it's sniffed, butchered, and exposed. Get your stomachs ready, because what's coming isn't for sensitive stomachs, but for those of us who stopped being grossed out a long time ago. Today, I bring you a summary of what's happened these past few days. Do you remember the political muscle? Well, let me tell you. The muscle turned to jelly. It just deflated right before our eyes. Today we have a feast of waste, courtesy of the National Palace. Let's dissect. The Mañanera, that cheap play that not even the most mediocre actors would dare to put on, where we saw our distinguished president, Claudia Sheinbaum, sweating bullets in the face of a reality that's coming at her like a runaway truck. And to revel in the mud, I'll tell you about the outrageous things shouted like a pig in heat by the enemy of soap, the legislative wild man, the ever-disgraceful Fernandez Noroña. Stay until the end. Let's get started. It turns out that the 40, in their infinite arrogance, organized a protest in Chihuahua against the PAN member Maru Campos. The numbers, an ode to disorganization. Morena's spokesperson, Arturo Avila, 0 votes, promised 200,000 people, then lowered the number to 20,000. And to make a long story short, they ended up being just about 5,000 people tops. Such a resounding failure that, if it were an exam, they would have even flunked behavior. Who are the main characters in this circus without a tent? Well, the usual ones. The welfare freeloaders and those chasing after a position, like the senator on leave, the sugar baby, Andrea Chavez. Among them and many others are disgraceful and foul-smelling Morena party members without dignity who drew fewer people than a hit-and-run victim on the Periférico. It was a direct blow to the welfare maid, who spent 4 consecutive weeks attacking the governor in her morning press conferences, consecutivas. They also took this opportunity to debut the national leader, Ariadna Montiel. What a debut, as she had her first major failure. Well done, Ariadna. And of course the crown jewel, the prince, the welfare brat, the stuffed pepper nose, the dimwit brother Andy Lopez Beltran. The guy arrived at the airport, surrounded by a bubble of bodyguards, pushing people aside, riding in luxury SUVs. Those same ones his damn father used to criticize so much, and with an attitude of a spoiled rich kid that even the conservatives they complain about would envy. It was so pathetic that while he was trying to leave, his entourage almost ran over reporters and protesters. A spectacle worthy of Morena royalty. People who aren't stupid at all shouted at him, "Corrupt and thief," right to his face. The heir's charm is over. Truly wonderful. You really have no idea how much I enjoyed watching this scene. Enjoy. But wait, Maru Campos didn't just sit back. She played them at their own game and beat them by a landslide. Morena wanted to fill Chihuahua with people they brought in, but they ran into roadblocks and a city covered with messages against them. In the end, the ones who ended up running away were the people from Morena. What an irony. And while all this was happening, we have Claudia Sheinbaum playing cat and mouse with Donald Trump. One day, she says that everything is love and peace, and the next day she rallies the crowds, as if we were in the middle of an invasion. Which one should we believe? Do we trust the one claiming the relationship is great, or the one loudly declaring Mexico's sovereignty against interference? I told you so. The air in the National Palace no longer smells like transformation, it smells like fear. If you've watched the press conferences this week, you know I'm not lying. The lady no longer projects that confidence that everything is under control. What she tried to sell us at the beginning. Now what we see is body language that screams. Anxiety, stiff movements, tense looks, glassy eyes, and long defensive in answers. As if she were trying to convince herself that the roof isn't falling down on her. This isn't business as usual. My pigs, this is a containment operation, Morena. Morena is shielding herself. Why? Because the international pigsty is making them pay the price. And it's very high. As usual, under pressure, Senito has to resort to the same old broken record. Is it Calderon's fault? They asked her if there was a risk that Morena could be declared, let's put it gently, a terrorist organization with ties to drug traffickers. And the answer was textbook, elementary, old school. No risk at all. Blunt, dry, automatic.
I want to ask you if you don't see any risk that Morena could be declared a terrorist organization because of the alleged ties it has with the cartels in Mexico.
Right? No risk at all. Look, it's interesting and important to talk about what's happening. And it's very clear. What changed in Mexico? In 2018, a government came into power that promoted a new economic model. A government that doesn't govern based on economic interests. Well, that we govern for everyone, but that governs for the people of Mexico. It was 36 years of governments linked to big economic interests. From Mexico and abroad. Who are the ones writing now? In a very dishonest way, by the way, that there is a narco-government, that there is a narco party. Who are they? The old regime's writers. It's that simple.
Boom! The classic attack. He pulled out the list of the usual suspects. Salinas de Gortari, Garcia Luna, Calderon. This time he just didn't mention Hernan Cortez because that would have been too much. It's fascinating to see how, when the pressure mounts and international investigations become impossible to ignore, with former officials turning themselves into the United States and banks freezing accounts, the strategy remains the same. Shoot at the past, at the media, and at commentators. They're even inept at that. At least come up with another story. It's so predictable, it's almost embarrassing, but it seems like it's all they have left when questions about the present get too uncomfortable. And then we get to this beauty, the magic word, the wild card, the savior, the lifeline they throw every time the ship starts sinking, sovereignty. What a beautiful word. They used it as a shield against the pressure from the United States, which is no longer just a hallway rumor, but a reality knocking on the door of the National Palace. The handmaiden president tried to separate her administration from Donald Trump's statements, arguing that he isn't referring to her when he talks about a Mexico governed by narcos. Please, who is she trying to fool? When the US president talks about the Mexican government. He's talking about the person in office, not a ghost. Trying to separate the institution from the person is a political juggling act that nobody buys anymore. Uncle Sam is determined and is pressing on the sore spot harder and harder. And where it bleeds is where he presses the hardest. And I can't let this beauty go by. It turns out that the bastard Senator Gerardo Fernandez Noroña, that repulsive being who is an ode to inconsistency, exploded with rage and dropped a damning phrase. Over my dead body will they take Rocha Moya, in obvious defense of the Narco-Governor of Sinaloa on leave after the accusations in the United States. Gang of scoundrels! Shouted the Morena senator while rejecting the accusations and insisting that there is no evidence against that criminal. Well, I would tell President Trump to take advantage of the offer. It's 2 for 1. Just as soon as he does, he should take him away immediately. Because if that son of 1,000 pigs already reeks like hell alive, I don't even want to imagine what he'll be like once he's covered in flies. I just want to remind Noroña that the last guy who acted tough and challenged Uncle Sam, saying similar nonsense and even danced, is now wearing an orange jumpsuit, enjoying his stay in a comfortable cell in New York, where they brought him to face the music. And look at him now. And it seems like the bread ran out a while ago. He should keep going and give us more gems like this for posterity. Anyway, the only thing that's certain is that reality is swallowing them up. We're at a stage where the tensions can no longer be swept under the rug. While at the president's morning press conference, they focus on constant confrontation and further polarizing the atmosphere, the reality is that the government is more and more lost. You can see it in their nervousness. You can see it in the need to constantly repeat that there's no deal with criminals. When you have to clarify something so many times, it's because deep down you know that the outside world no longer believes the official narrative. In the end, my little piggy's political damage can't be fixed with a good speech or by pointing to imaginary enemies from the past. It is fixed with transparency. We already know that's rare in the political pigsty. Anyway, my dear little pigs, this is, as of today, the transformation that's falling apart in your hands. While its main players are worried about not getting splashed by all the crap that's bubbling up, ignoring the reality that's hitting everyone in the face. So for today, let's just let the sewage keep flowing in this national pigsty. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the political sewer. In the next episode, there will be more filth to clean up, more hypocrisy to break down, and above all, more laughs so we don't cry over the misfortune. Keep watching, keep questioning, and above all, don't believe the story that nothing happens here. Because when the government builds a wall, it's because they know the wolf is already at the door. I'm Luis Berman, and I'm signing off. Remember to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share this crap, because you know that political journalism in Mexico is a high-risk sport. But we're still here. I'll read your comments. See you on Thursday. Goodbye.
This is La Cosilga, the pigsty of politics with Luis Berman.